Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Ham Nation is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This episode of Ham Nation is brought to you by ICOM. For more information, visit icomamerica.com/hamnation. By Audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to audiblepodcast.com/hamnation. And by DX Engineering. DX Engineering offers practically everything you need to outfit your shack, plus the fastest shipping in the industry. In-stock items ship the same day, Monday through Friday until 10 p.m. Eastern. For more information, visit dxengineering.com/hamnation.
This is Ham Nation, episode number 163, September 3rd, 2014. We visit the Collins Demo Van. We have a spectacular show tonight, so be sure you call all your friends, and you might even want to make a mental note to come back and watch this one again, because we've got some exciting things. First of all, of course, Don's going to be here. Don, how are you doing? Everything all right?
Awesome, Bob. Good to have you back. I'm super excited about tonight's show because, as you know, I'm kind of a classic car buff, and we kind of have a classic automotive bend to the show tonight. So, yeah, I'm super thrilled about that, Bob. Back to you.
Yeah. In many ways, as you'll find out later, there's a big surprise coming down the line. But we have with us W83CEX. Jim Stitzinger is a Collins collector of the First Reich. He's got every radio in the world. However, Jim found the original 1964 Collins demo van. Collins put together a demo van back in the 60s that they drive around to Hamfest and dealers, and he's going to tell you all about it. You're going to see it after a while, but we want to say hello to Jim real quickly. Jim, thank you so much, and I see that you're in that van tonight. How about this?
Hey, I am in the van and just happy to be here on Ham Nation, and hello to you, Bob, and to Goro, and to Don.
Well, we appreciate you being here so much, Jim, and we're going to come back to you in just a little bit, and we're going to find out all of the things that's going on. A lot of great pictures. And Gordo, I saw while I was out on the road, you were playing around in the waves, but I guess everything was good. You and Suze had fun, and it's good to be back. How you doing, Gordo? Take her away.
We're doing fine, Bob, and I'm happy to report the waves are now on their way back up. That's right, another hurricane coming up the coast. Good news, CQ Magazine out with their August issue, and the issue is thick. So CQ doing a great job keeping us up to date. And speaking, Bob, of up to date, Citrus Belt Amateur Radio Club, which you're going to talk about shortly, Route 66, W6A, all the way through W6U. 15 years now will be on the air starting this Saturday, the 6th, running all the way through the 14th. So we sure hope all of our Ham Nation viewers and listeners can work a Route 66 station. Thanks, Tracy, for that info. And then this Sunday, the retirement community of Laguna Woods, California, is having their 50th special event station, W6LY, and they add a lot to ham radio for those that want to play radio in their sunset and retirement years. And then a week after next, Sunday, September 7th, Crescent City Amateur Radio Group is holding a hurricane drill. Hey, Don, in your backyard down in the and covering the New Orleans area. And then on Saturday, the 13th, that's a good one, Santa Fe Trail in Kansas Amateur Radio Club. And Bob, I think you and George are going to be there via Skype. Finally, Sunday the 14th in New Jersey, the Gloucester Amateur Radio Club holding their 36th amateur radio get-together and swap meet. And then I look forward to seeing all of you folks in the Midwest in Peoria for my Instructor Academy. And that's Peoria on the 19th, 20th, and 21st with the Academy on that Friday. And finally, don't forget K6H. That's H for Hollywood. John Amadeo and in 6JA will inaugurate Sunday, September 28th. Last Man Standing. And that's going to be a fun one. So we hope all of you have an opportunity to work John's station there at the original studio, K6H. So that's what's happening this coming few weeks in ham radio, Bob. Back to you.
Thanks, Gordo. And I know it's way out there, but I am really excited. I just learned from Dave, 4SV, that I'm going to be a part of the Pacificon. And I know almost all of the Hamvention guys are going to be there. So I'm really excited about that. That's way down the line in October, but we'll be talking about Pacificon. That's an incredible show for you guys that can make it out onto the West Coast. And I'm getting all packed up to go to the W4 DXCC show down in Pigeon Forge in a couple of weeks. So anybody that's going to be around there, why come and see us. And I get to teach my science of audio. And as you know, I love teaching and sharing the science. We'll talk about science. You know, one of the leading manufacturers for many, many years and still of communication gear is Collins Radio, and many of us collect a few pieces here and there, but I don't think anybody has as much, I guess it's passion for Collins as Jim. And Jim, thanks very much for coming, and we're going to get into some of the slides in a minute, but tell everybody where you are and where you're seating. Jim, go ahead.
Sitting in my warehouse. The van is inside, and I'm sitting inside it. And you can see the door in the background, and the equipment is a little bit here to right, and it's all just as it is when it's operational.
But you acquired this van in kind of a neat way, and let's start showing some of the pictures of it. We've got some really good pictures that you had captured, and so let's take a look. Now, first of all, that's in your warehouse. That's a little bit. That's just a piece of it. Now we're going to come back here in a few weeks. We're going to show all of the viewers some of your real collection. Let's go to that next one because it's also really something special. That's the side of the transmitters. The next picture, look at that. And these are just a few of them. And one thing that I learned about you, Jim, you have one of the largest collection of Collins literature. So there you are with the van. There it is sitting in front of the Collins, I guess it was Cedar Rapids, and that was cool. And there was a picture of it. So that was amazing in '64. And they converted that thing so that you have a full array of Collins gear in it. And that's where you're sitting now. Inside that van. And they took it to a Hamfest and all that. We'll hold up here just a minute, Jim. You might want to fill in some of the things there. We'll go back to you right now. You've been to some of those events, is that right, years ago?
I was not there for the
lost
first showing. Oh. Okay. I was not there when it was first out in 1964 to 66, but I found it in 93. I was looking for the literature of Collins Radio, and I called the various dealers, and I found Ed Morey in Arkansas and went to see him, and he said, "You need the van." And I said, "What's the van?" And he said, "The Collins communication van." And he took me to his driveway, and there it was in all its glory and rust and abuse and so forth. And his wife came out and she said, "Ed, this is our anniversary, and the best thing you can do is get that thing out of my driveway as a gift." And so I turned to Ed, the horse trainer, and I said, "What do you want for it?" And he said, $1,500. And I said, well, how about 16? Because I knew I was in for a negotiation. So we made a deal. I put it in a truck and hauled it all the way to L.A. and restored it. And it's very much like it was. That's in its first life with Dennis Brothers and some others at a ham fest there in Cedar Rapids, setting it up and displaying it as it's done many times. And there they are putting the antenna together for the back. Little two-element beam. And I call that the column.
I realized it came with all the go ahead, Jim. Next picture is
they're
really
raising the antenna there and getting it ready to work there at a ham site, a ham fest.
That's
so that's
really
the picture
sweet.
I had to work. That's the first generation, and I made it look just like that, so that the guys who see it now would recognize it from the early days. And there it is in its first light. You see the duck pond there and see your rapids. It's sitting right out in front of Building 120.
Wow.
Just a black and white of the sun. So there's the equipment, and we put the same kind of equipment back. We put that unit up above was already there, the controller, and so we just reverse engineered it and hooked it up, and away we went. It worked. That's Ed Morey, and when he had it, and that's who I bought it from. He renamed it Ed Morey Wholesale Radio. And there's restored, and it looks very much like the original. The KWM2A or KWM2 in the front seat. And the idea was you could have two operators operating simultaneously. That's Ed and his wife, and you can see the rusty condition when I got it. And he bought it right from Collins, and then I bought it from him. So there I am just before I took it out of his driveway. And that's when we brought it back to Dayton at a Collins Collector Association event, and it's all set up with the antennas inside. And that's about where I am right now. I was privileged to be able to bring it to the red carpet at ARRL there at Dayton, and had a lot of people find it and see it who had seen it in its first life. That was really fun. And as you may know, I'm collecting signatures of people who saw it in its first life. There it is at the Dayton event with the CCA. And here's Bob signing it. How do you like that, Bob? And
you'll notice just to the right of my knuckle is a Gordon West WB6NOAs right there. So Gordo and I had signed it, and that was really fun to be able to do that. Yeah, there you go. There you are, Gordo. How you like that?
Wow, back in the 60s at the Queen Mary.
See, Gordo saw it in his
those
first
get overshadowed by this guy.
He just recently signed it. Thank you, Joe, for signing it.
That is too cool.
That's wonderful.
Wow.
And there it is in its glory.
I have a question for you,
I
Jim.
understand.
Being a classic car guy, from the pictures, it didn't look like there was too much structural problems. Of course, it's hard to see from the pictures, but was there very much that you had to do rather than just a repaint and the surface rust? How was the frame and everything in the engine? How much work did that take to get it back together?
Yeah, we rebuilt the engine. The transmission was all right. We had to rebuild the brakes and all that because it was an East Coast rust bucket, as I call it. And so it was a full vehicle restoration, a lot of body putty, but no major accidents. And it's quite unstable. And, you just don't drive it fast. So I flatbed it everywhere and just keep the driving to the minimum. But it was a full restoration.
That's awesome. You can sure tell it was a labor of love, and congratulations. That's amazing work. I'm just so proud of you. Very, very good stuff.
Don,
thank you, Don.
I call that the ultimate collector.
Yeah, no kidding.
You can collect all the radios and the signs and all this stuff. But Jim, you really outdid all of us with the van. I really appreciate you showing us that. And do you ever just hook up radios and hook them up to outside antennas and work it from the van?
I do. I have used it with its own 6 antennas, and the beam works quite well, but the hustlers work good too. And then sometimes I've connected it to a full tower in a situation, and it's all there. It works well. I keep the equipment
That's
in really good
great.
condition. Brian
That's
Thompson
really
just went through it
great.
all for me. Yeah.
Well, we look forward to seeing it around to some of the larger fests, and we really appreciate your time. And you will be back, because I want you to come back and talk to us about a couple of major events you pulled off recently about collecting Collins gear. It was just amazing, and we'll get into some of that about the actual gear. But I just thought this was the greatest thing. And Gordo, did you get to spend a lot of time seeing the van when you signed it?
I sure did. It was there at the Queen Mary Big Ham Radio Expo back in the 60s. My gosh, 50 years ago, and had a great tour. And Jim, thanks again for this tour tonight.
You bet.
So
Thank
good.
you for having me. Thank you for having
Jim,
me, Gordo. And go ahead. Just thank you.
We're going to have you back, Jim. I know that you've got a lot of stories. So thanks very much. I hope you get to fire it up during the W6 Route 66 event this weekend. But thanks for coming aboard, and take care of that baby. And I guess we do this in honor of Art Collins, but also for Hoss Trader Ed. Hoss Trader was quite a guy in the days. In fact, most of that gear you see behind me came from Hoss Trader. I bought a lot of gear back in the 60s from him. He was a great guy. So thanks a lot for coming aboard, and we'll look forward to seeing you again at one of the big fests, and we'll have you back here on Ham Nation again real soon, Jim. 7-3 to you, and we appreciate your time.
7-3 to you too.
All right. Well, that I guess it just doesn't get much better. Don, how do you like that? It's not just a Collins radio, but he also he rebuilt the animal it came in. How do you like that one? That was cool, huh?
That's the ultimate Collins collectible. You can have, anybody can have a Collins radio, but to have the actual communications van, that's a one of one. That's amazing.
That was good. I knew you'd like that. And we hope that all of the viewers enjoyed those pictures. Well, we're going to go take a little trip right now and pick up some of the ICOM people. I think it's time for them to talk to us about their gear.
Mark your calendars, D-Star fans. The D-Star QSO party is this month, and you're invited. Connect with the world via D-Star repeaters from Friday, September 19th through Sunday, September 21st. Contact ham radio operators around the world using D-Star. D-Star has helped amateur radio grow. It's an exciting technology that has introduced new people to the hobby, and it's been a great protocol for MCOM too. Join the D-Star QSO party and communicate through D-Star repeaters. The more QSOs you make, the more chances you have to win. Multiply your chances of collecting points when you contact a set number of foreign countries. Earn up to 1 bonus point when you send GPS information indicating communication distance via D-Star radio. Submit an approved log to be eligible for the prize drawing. Visit ICOM America's website for complete contest rules, log reporting, and more. The D-Star QSO Party winners will receive a brand new ID51A ICOM 50th Anniversary Limited Edition radio. 10 lucky winners will be randomly selected. Winners can only receive one prize and cannot choose the radio color. Only 5,000 ID51A units are available worldwide. The radio is available in 5 colors: blue, green, red, silver, and black. Special edition radio features include faster data transfer on DV mode, RS-MS1A Android app compatibility, additional D+ reflector link commands, and other enhanced digital features. Make sure you visit icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on the 2014 D-Star QSO Party and the 50th Anniversary Limited Edition ID51A.
Going to be pretty amazing. Now, you can also enter ICOM's weekly drawing for ICOM swag, like the T-shirts and the hats. And learn how you can win the monthly grand prize drawing for a new ICOM radio. You go to icomamerica.com/hamnation. All the official rules are there, and you can check out ICOM's previous drawing winners. And, in fact, I have the name here for the August winner, Alden, W5APD, out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. He won himself a 50th anniversary edition ID 51A in his choice of color. So go to icomamerica.com/hamnation for official rules and check out all of the ICOM previous drawing winners. Sign up and good luck. And I believe, I'm not sure, but I got a note from Ray Novak from ICOM saying something about a white ID 51. Could that perhaps be the prize for the QSO party? Not sure. He says something about white. So if you're a fan of white, you might want to check that out. But anyway, thank you, ICOM, for your support. Now, Gordon, let's see what's going on with your short shots, short comings, short attention span.
Yeah, right. Well, you know, we hear a lot about kids getting into ham radio and what they can contribute to a job beside just working ham radio. Bob Carroll Perry is going to join you and also join me when we're up at Pacificon, and she's for kids. But, you know, we found something that kids love, and they really take to it, and that is a tiny device and a little thing that goes ping, 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 and that's what we're going to look at. And thanks to Spence Porter, you remember him in the early days of ComSpec. Spence, WA6TPR, went from ham radio into building things, and now he's got a business of not only tone signaling, but, well, Brian, let's go ahead and roll the the short shots, and here is what Spence has come up for wildlife, folks, and that is tags for wildlife. Well, he didn't want to leave out ham, so he built tags on the ham radio 222 and 223 megahertz band just for hunting as well as marking your favorite. Now, these tags are for kids, they're for pets, they're for just about anywhere you want to have a little tiny transmitter that puts out about 1 milliwatt of power, about 100 millisecond tick. And these go for anywhere from 2 to 3 blocks to out in the open, maybe 1 to 2 miles. And these little ticker tags can be easily worn for a month without having to change this simple CR2032 battery. And once you have the battery inserted, it also gives off your call sign. And that is they're pre-programmed, and they're only sold on the 222, 223 band to licensed ham radio operators. So it's staying within the ham bands and staying within the ham service as a T-Hunt special. And by the way, they're interstitial on the 222 megahertz band. So where you see a strong repeater on the spectrum analyzer, on each side are the tags on the repeater outputs. So you're never going to have a tag pulsing a repeater or anything like that you could hear with a conventional FM radio. Now, these little tiny trackers can help you track down a pooch that gets away up to 2 or 3 blocks. And if you have some elevation or a beam antenna, as I do, you can track them anywhere from 5 to 10 blocks away. And there's a dog with one of the tickers, a little yellow one. If you're into kitty cats, as we are, there's a ticker tag, and they don't even know they're wearing them. And this goes for a month. And yes, every 10 minutes, it sends out the WB6NOA. You got a gerbil or what the heck is that? I'm not sure. But it could have a ticker tag. So if it gets loose at the Ham Fest, it could be tracked down easily with the receiver. And the receiver, by the way, is a CW narrowband receiver with a single sideband crystal filter, 8-pole ceramic filter, 6 helical resonators. This receiver is sensitive. So if you want to tag your favorite parrot, I suppose you could do so too. Might not fly well with that tag. But anyway, your animals won't even know that you're signaling your call sign. And once a second, or about 100 milliseconds, you hear this characteristic little tiny pulse. And that allows you to swing the antenna and find the pooch, that's one like that at Quartz Fest, or maybe you're working a bloodhound mission, you can tag the bloodhound and always know where he or she is on the mission. The battery simply pop right into the tag. Each battery tag has a number because you could have up to 50 combinations of tags. So you could actually have 50 of these $50 transmitters, $50 a piece, 250 for the receivers. So under $300, you're started with one tag and one hot 9-volt battery-operated receiver, and the included Moxon antenna that is quite directional. Now, there's some other tags that he makes for public safety operations as well as for medical applications that are more than 1 milliwatt. They're anywhere from 10 to 50 milliwatts, and they're on a different medical frequency band, close to, but not on the HAM 220 band. For transport, everything folds right up. There's the receiver. When you're ready to do your T-hunting, you make sure you've got an easy 9-volt battery inserted, ready to roll. Place for headphones. And you start waving that back and forth, not little steps, but big waves back and forth, and you'll find that your pet accidentally got locked up in this container compartment long before he dried up. So that's good. And you can write down 4 of your favorite pets, but remember, this is a PLL receiver that can receive up to 90 channels of both the old legacy frequencies at 218 as well as the ham frequencies at 222 and 223, interstitial to repeaters. Now, even with your best ICOM handheld, you're not going to hear the 100 millisecond, 1 milliwatt signal on FM. It takes single sideband capabilities to hear that. And of course, with an ICOM HF radio with VHF, UHF, and a converter for the 222 band, you'll hear them. Of course, each of his receivers have a nice built-in S meter. They also have an attenuator, and that's the brand new receiver you see on the right, much more thin than the conventional one on the left that I have painted yellow. Now, here's the kid connection. You hide 5 or 6 transmitters on different frequencies, and the kids will go wild. They can do their own antennas out of a tape measure, or they can, as we see here, do the Moxon antenna. That's part of the $250 receiver. And that Moxon antenna is both sensitive as well as quite directional. And kids have a great time tracking down their pets. Here we see the fire department at one of our ham instructor classes. They tracked down Fritz, and they've got him collared now. But they found him in a hurry because fire department and many emergency groups are trained to find the 121.5 locators. No, the receiver doesn't do 121.5. It is intended for training. So a companion 121.5 receiver that you see off to the left would be able and similar to track down those activated signals. For the elderly, your mom or your dad that's in their 80s or 90s, you put one of the tags on their cart. So when they go cruising and make a left instead of a right, you can track them down in the neighborhood 2 or 3 blocks away easily. And this young lady also has her pooch with one of the tags on it. And aeronautical, we tried it with Jeff in 6JSV. Jeff and I went up in the aircraft, and with a variety of radios, it was Spence Porter's radio receiver that did the very best reception of these tags. So your favorite animal, a little tiny tag like that on Mr. Q or Ms. Moo with a little tag like this, and you'll be able to spot them everywhere they might want to go hiding. Dogs, cats, gerbils, you name it. Now, there's Ray, and I've got to say, Ray is one of the most generous marketeers, and Ray just gave us the great news. Thank you, Ray, for Quartz Fest. We're going to be putting together a complete station, power supply, antenna, and most important, the ICOM 7200. That's going to be given away to one of the lucky in January Quartz Fest attendees. So, Ray, we so much appreciate your support of the amateur service and all that us hams do to make ham radio happening. And with a little receiver like this one right here and a little tiny tracker tag like this, you're ready to roll. For more information, go to com-spec.com, and Spence Porter will take you through all of the neat receivers and little tiny 1 milliwatt transmitters on the 222, 223 band that go quite a distance when you have your receiver tuned in to try and find that lost item. And by the way, when I do Orange County Fair, I put one of the tags in my ICOM radio that we're going to have at Quartz Fest as well, the 9100. So if someone bags my radio and they're within 3 or 4 blocks, I'll find it quick. Okay, Bob, back to you.
Yeah. So don't try taking any of your radios because you know where they are. That's terrific. We really appreciate some of the great people that support Ham Nation, and one of them is Audible. So let's go have a word from Audible.
Man, I love audible.com. Thank you, Bob. I not only read the ad for Audible, I'm an Audible subscriber. Yeah, I pay actual money to Audible every month, and I get the book of my choice. Audible.com is the leading provider of audiobooks. There are more than 150,000 downloadable titles across all types of genres, literature, fiction, nonfiction, periodicals. And for listeners of Ham Nation, Audible will give you a free audiobook to give you a chance to try out their service. Now, one you might be considering is the one that I'm reading right now, and it's Salem's Lot, Stephen King. This is a vampire book, but this ain't no true blood romantical vampire. No, this is more like Dracula and Bram Stoker. I'm about halfway into it, and I'm thoroughly enjoying my hour-long drive to and from work listening to Salem's Lot. Now, another one you might think about, we just had the 9th anniversary, believe it or not, 9 years of Hurricane Katrina. That was back on the 28th of August, 29th of August. And there's a great book called 5 Days at Memorial. It's a book about Dr. Anna Poe, who was a real live doctor who was there at Memorial Hospital in New Orleans. And it talks about just the unspeakable horrors that went on at Memorial, not only from the storm, but from a bunch of patient deaths and everything. And so as someone who was in emergency medicine for a brief and glorious amount of time, I kind of have an interesting point of view on what happened at Memorial. I will leave it to you to decide whether or not you think that Dr. Poe was in the right or in the wrong, as well as all the other healthcare professionals. But the point is, this is a true story, and it gives you an insight into just what happened in New Orleans for Hurricane Katrina. And again, like I said, we just passed the 9th anniversary of Katrina. So 5 Days at Memorial is an excellent book, and I highly recommend that. To download either of these audiobooks for free or any other of your choice, go to audiblepodcast.com/hamnation. audiblepodcast.com/hamnation. You know, over 99% of the books are one credit. But it's best to check on Audible before, you decide what you want to do. But anyway, it's a great service. audiblepodcast.com/hamnation. Thank you so much, Audible, for not only your support of Ham Nation, but for making my commute just an enjoyable 125 miles a day. More enjoyment we have from Randy, K7AGE, and he's got some amazing videos, I believe, to share with us. Randy?
Hi, Randy, K7AGE. After my visit to W1AW in the headquarters building, I went up to the Vintage Radio and Communications Museum in Windsor, Connecticut. Now, this is about 20 minutes north of W1AW, still on the way to the Bradley Airport. So if you're in the area, you really should spend some time and go through the museum. Check on their website for hours. Once inside the lobby, you'll see the tube tester that used to be in the drugstores. Remember when you'd pull the tubes out of your TV and go in and test them? And there's also this chessboard made up of old vacuum tubes. There are many display areas in the museum. This area is devoted to old radios. Here's the little nipper listening to his master's voice from the old horn speaker. History of radio display, an old loop antenna that's connected to a crystal radio here at the bottom, and along with the old pair of headphones. Many areas with lots of radios here. Look at some of the old radios with the speakers on top. Back when radio was furniture. Shelf here just loaded with radios. Look at all those knobs and meters on some of those sets. Some of those have exposed tubes. A little newer selection here, again with a bunch of horn speakers on the top shelf. And looks like some of the newer tabletop radios in the Bakelite cases. The old Zenith transoceanic radios. Oh, those were just, everybody dreamed of having one of those back in the day. Tuska was one of the founders of the ARRL with Maxim, and he also had a radio company located in Hartford. And this is his Model 225. Isn't that just wonderful? Look at those dials and the exposed contacts and the old headphones. The freshman masterpiece, including a log chart in the lid so you could record the settings of all the dials, so hopefully you'd be able to tune in the station again. At kind of the other end of the extreme, the old transistor radios. Remember these with 5 and 6 transistors? A radio and television service bench exhibit with the old ICO vacuum tube voltmeter, VTVM, and notice the $1 minimum service charge. Looks like a radio on the bench is needing some attention, located with some test gear, although the scopes I think are a little bit newer than this radio. Looking underneath the chassis, you'll see there's no printed circuit boards, no surface mount. Look at all those condensers, the yellowish tubes with the black markings on one end. Having a schematic would help you troubleshoot and hopefully locate the fault in the radio by being able to trace the circuits. Larger shops would have a stock of Sam's PhotoFax with the schematics, parts list, and alignment instructions for all the various sets. The museum has a ham radio exhibit, including a ham station. Their call sign is W1VCM for Vintage Communications Museum. The Ham Shack is equipped with many pieces of ham equipment. That's a national transceiver, the silver box on the desktop behind the microphone. There's a Kenwood transceiver on the shelf. And over here is a Johnson Viking transmitter with a matching VFO and a couple Swan transceivers. No Ham Shack is complete unless you have QSL cards displayed on the wall. Have you worked W1VCM? Do you see your QSL card here? This is a home-built 1 kilowatt sideband transmitter built back in the 60s. Just think of the amount of soldering and chassis work required to build that. Here's a shot of the Johnson Viking 2 transmitter. This was a CW and AM. My father had one of these, and when I was a little boy, I would sit in a ham shack and I would operate the big toggle switch on the front to go from receive to transmit. Here's an old Globe Scout AM and CW transmitter, crystal controlled, and look at all the crystals located on the top of the radio. Over on the right here is some Heathkit equipment, including the old monitor scope and the station console, which had a clock, SWR bridge, phone patch, and ID timer. A shelf with more equipment, Harmelin, Heathkit, some national Heathkit, and a national transceiver, as well as a Swan transceiver on the bottom shelf. Helicrafter's receiver. There's another Johnson transmitter in the middle. Here's a Ten-Tech, some early 2-meter FM transceivers, a Drake transceiver, as well as a Kenwood, a Regency monitor receiver, a BC348 military receiver, and another piece of, looks like, military gear. Newspaper article from 50 years ago of the 50th anniversary of the American Radio Relay League. Here's an old paper tape code practice machine. You'd wind that up and practice your code. A military radio display, including command sets on the top shelf. Those were aircraft receiver and transmitters used in World War II that were real popular surplus after the war. The museum has a large selection of televisions on display, some consoles, tabletops with the smaller screens. In the display case are some of the smaller solid-state sets of the day. I just love this old space helmet-looking television sitting on top of a Motorola with its rabbit ears, and the television on the left has a magnifying lens on the front to make the picture larger. I think these 1950s Philco sets are really cool with the picture tube separated from the electronics. It's got that space-age look that reminds me of the Jetsons. A banner from a television repair shop stating they use RCA television tubes next to the Admiral television. Some professional gear. This is an Ampex 1-inch videotape recorder and an RCA color studio camera. A mostly solid-state Panasonic portable television still has a vacuum tube for the display, and it was playing I Love Lucy. And this is a 1968 Magnavox 15-inch portable color television set for only $319.90. If we convert that to today's dollars, that's over $2,000. They have a collection of broadcast transmitters in the museum. This is a Gates 5,000 watts AM radio station transmitter. Picture inside of the RF deck of the transmitter, you can see the big old vacuum tubes with the plate caps on the top, roller inductors. Look at a big copper strap. That's all part of the output tank circuit. A view of another one of the decks inside of the transmitter. You can see the vacuum tube at the top. Danger, high voltage. Turn off power before servicing, otherwise it'll knock you on your butt. This is a very early, maybe the first RCA FM radio station transmitter. And you can see the tubes through the windows on the front. Nice display case in the museum filled with vacuum tubes of all different sizes and shapes and colors, some odd shapes on the bottom shelf. Here's a close-up of some of the old blue tubes. You can see a couple of them have plate caps, and on the end is a series of clear glass tubes. This is a big old Westinghouse transmitter tube. Boy, if you had one of these in your ham station, you were hot stuff. Materials used in RCA radio tubes. Boy, I'm not sure I'd want to be around where these things were manufactured back in the day. What do we got? Zinc, chloride, iron, marble dust, wood fiber, strontium nitrate, lead oxide, zinc oxide, strontium carbonate, sodium nitrate, silver oxide. Boy, OSHA would have fun with this. If you used vacuum tubes, you probably used a vacuum tube tester. The meter would tell you when it was time to replace the tube, if the tube was getting weak, or if it was still good. In the lobby of a museum, you could purchase a collector's item, a vacuum tube, a lost art, only 50 cents a piece. And I would like to thank Chris Kelling, N1WKO, for showing me around the museum. We had a great time. They have a lot of equipment there. Make sure you devote several hours to see everything. Thanks for watching. This is Randy, K7AGE 73.
That was fabulous. Really good. Yeah, Randy, you bring back a lot of memories. Let me tell you, a lot of memories. And I have a lot of some of that stuff around here too. We're just engrossed with all of the radio stuff today, from yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And one of the greatest places to buy it is DX Engineering, and we're happy to have them back with us again. So let's see what kind of specials that DX Engineering has today.
You know, you've heard the expression, build a better mousetrap and the world will be the path to your door, right? Well, DX Engineering has basically reinvented the PL259 coax connector. This one is leaps and bounds better than any PL plug ever made. And they did it without hurting a single rodent. I'm not sure what that means, but we're going to find out. This revolutionary new connector has several key improvements. It's a full diameter, full length center pin. Gives you a better fit into the mating SO239, even on well-worn and abused receptacles. And my, we've seen those, haven't we? Some of us may even have those. The larger center pin is also easier to flow solder inside. That gives you a more secure, highly conductive connection. PL259 shell is silver-plated, deeply knurled, makes for easy handling. Precise threads as well. It gives you a better mechanical and electrical connection. And, of course, if you got a better PL plug, you need great coax as well. The connector is installed on every DX Engineering coaxial cable assembly. It's all carefully made by hand in the USA to the most amazing tolerances in the world. They're all high-pot tested to give you extreme voltage, and you can be sure it'll work right. The cable and connector assembly is also weather-tight, keeps out in Mother Nature. And cable grippers make working with coaxial cable a whole lot easier on your hand, and yes, DX Engineering has that as well. Perfect complement to the DX Engineering coaxial cable prep tools. The grippers help you securely hold the coax while you're doing the proper prep. They also help you hold it as you're pulling it off a spool or out of a box for a run. Very handy. Two sizes, too, for the RG8U size coax and for the 8X Mini 8 coax as well. And if you're working with coax, of course, you need the coax stripper for the traditional PL259s if you want to roll your own. Specifically designed for the 8, 213, and 400 max-sized cables. They're easy to use. They're preset. You won't cut too deep. You won't nick the insulator or the sheathing. It's very important. And also, sturdy construction will last 4 years. If you want to grab any of this, Get your order in by 10 p.m. Eastern. If it's in stock, DX Engineering will put it on a truck headed your way tonight. Proven products, expert advice, the fastest shipping in the industry, bar none. DX Engineering helping you shrink the globe. Grab your catalog or shop online 24/7 at dxengineering.com/HamNation. DX Engineering, thank you so much for your support of Ham Nation. Now let's take a look and see what's going on with the world of ham radio from Amateur Radio Newsline. From Amateur Radio Newsline Report number 1933, these are the Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, September 3rd, 2014. British radio amateur Leo Bodner, M0XER, recently launched several solar-powered balloons that have managed to circumnavigate the globe. The most interesting of these appears to be B64, as we hear from Amateur Radio Newsline's Heather Emby, KB3TZD.
B64, carrying an 11-gram transmitter payload, was launched from Silverstone in the UK on July 12th, and it's still flying. It completed its first circumnavigation of the Northern Hemisphere on July 31st, and its second complete trip on or about August 21st. When it last reported, it was on its third round-the-world trip over northern Russia, headed toward the Arctic Circle at an altitude of about 40,000 feet above main sea level. B64 transmits 10 milliwatt signals on 434.5 megahertz, signing M0XER-4 and using the data modes Contestia 64x1000 and APRS. In designing the balloon's payload, Bodner utilized some clever techniques, including the storage of up to 5 days of positions when the balloon is out of radio contact. It later transmits the log file of its previous locations in the comments field of the APRS packet when ground acquisition is reestablished. This enables a fairly complete path to be built up.
Bodner's other balloons are still aloft and designated as B63 and B66. While dumping ice water on your head and donating to ALS research might have reached fad status, it's not the only way to fight this horrible disease, as we hear from Newsline's Ralph Squilacci, KK6ITB.
We have all seen the videos of people around the world taking the Ice Bucket Challenge to increase awareness and raise funds for research into finding a cure for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, better known by the acronym ALS. But this is not the only way that awareness of this killer disease is being brought to the attention of the public. Ham Radio is also doing its part, and one of the groups involved is the Worcester Emergency Communications Team. It's in the process of soliciting radio amateurs to help with communications for the annual Ride to Defeat ALS that will be held in the city of Wayland, Massachusetts on Sunday, September 28th. If you wish to volunteer, please contact Rob Capizio via email at rob@kc2ema.net.
If you'll be in the Worcester, Mass area, we hope you'll participate. More details can be found in the full edition of this week's Amateur Radio Newsline Report. Two of Ham Radio's big three manufacturers have new gear announcements. First up, ICOM, with a very special HF 6-meter radio in celebration of the company's 50th anniversary.
Designated as the IC7850, the radio is based on ICOM's IC7800, but incorporates several circuitry improvements as well as special styling. ICOM says that the IC7850 will be produced early in 2015, but in very limited numbers. Yaesu has announced the introduction of a new high-frequency VHF and UHF base station transceiver dubbed the model FT991. This new transceiver is capable of operating SSB, CW, AM, FM, packet, as well as the company's exclusive System Fusion C4FM digital voice mode. The FT991 is not yet listed on the Yaesu English language website, nor has any pricing been announced.
Again, you'll find links to both of these new rigs in the full edition of this week's Amateur Radio Newsline Report. And we close this week with the sad news that NASA astronaut Stephen Nagel, N5RAW, who flew 4 space shuttle missions, died Thursday, August 21st.
Nagel became a NASA astronaut in August 1979. In 1991, as commander on flight STS-37, he was among the all-ham radio crew. During this mission, the crew aboard the space shuttle Atlantis deployed the Gamma Ray Observatory for the purpose of exploring gamma ray sources throughout the universe. They also conducted the first scheduled spacewalk in more than 5.5 years, as well as the first unscheduled spacewalk to free a stuck antenna on Gamma Ray Observatory. Some of the crew members spent many of their free hours using the Shuttle Amateur Radio Experiment 2-meter ham radio station to talk with youngsters in schools around the world. Nagel's last flight was as commander of STS-55 that carried the German D-2 Space Lab. With that mission's completion, Nagel had logged a total of 723 hours in space. He retired from NASA on May 31st, 2011. Nagel is survived by his wife Linda and his 2 daughters, Lauren and Whitney. At the time of his passing, Nagel was age 67.
And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news, brought to you each and every week for over 35 years and counting at www.arnewsline.org. I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW 73. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. Yeah, sad to hear about Mr. Nagel. So sad. Bob, back to you.
Well, that it really is sad, and he was at Lebanon with us just last fall, and it was really great. But so sorry to hear of his passing. Well, I've got 2 firsts for you. Mark this down. It's one of the first times you're ever going to see me in a baseball cap. And for darn sure, it's not going to be on backwards. I want somebody to understand, why do you wear a baseball cap backwards? I don't understand that. I never understood that. Please, somebody, and all the chat room will go crazy. Fine, send me an email. I want to know why. But anyway, this is a very special baseball cap. This cap is, of course, celebrating the Route 66 event called On the Air. And the other first is the fact that Springfield is the birthplace of Route 66. And I never did understand why Springfield wasn't included in the On the Air thing. That started in California with some great guys 15 years ago. And they've grown through the years with a few more stations along the Route 66, of course, Mother Road, as we call it. And this is the 86th anniversary of Route 66. And back in 1926, a guy by the name of Mr. Woodward here in Springfield got the idea. And we're going to show you a few slides coming up here. I think Brian's got them. We'll let you get them going. First, you know, Route 66 is stuff like this. I mean, you go up and down Route 66, especially here in Springfield. Wow. This is what you see.
Studebaker.
I mean, this is, Studebaker. The first one was a 57 Chevrolet that some guy made a pickup truck, and it's cool. We see it tooling around a lot. And the thing about this is that this is what Route 66 was all about. Having fun on the road. But here's a copy of the telegram. Now, this telegram was sent to Washington, telling them that this group that was meeting here in the Colonial Hotel in Springfield, Missouri, picked out the name, which was going to be Route 66. They also had sorted out where it was going to go. So the birthplace of Route 66 was Springfield. Well, this year, Springfield is going to be included in this wonderful event. And if you've never worked it, you've got to get with the program. You'll be able to receive QSL cards like this. And this is really fun to work, hopefully all of them. That's one of the big deals, is to try to work all of the stations that are on the air up and down Route 66. It starts this Saturday, this coming Saturday at 7 o'clock p.m. And there is a list of all of the stations. And you go in and try to find them. They'll be on every band, 160 all the way up through 6 meters. Some of them will even be on local repeaters. I understand a couple of them are going to be on D-Star. So that's going to be a fun thing. And we're very excited here in Springfield for this to be the first year. And we look forward to a lot of activity. If you want more news about the Springfield part of it, just go to the Southwest Missouri Amateur Radio Club, smarc.org, smarc.org. And you'll be able to stay up with what we're doing and all that. So we're really happy to be joining the club here and allowing us to see the things like you're seeing on the screen right now. There's a lot of news about Route 66, and of course they do other things about the club itself, but we'll get this happening throughout the event. So stay in touch with us on 75 or 40 or 20, whatever suits you, and get on and work, everybody, and get those cards, all of them. That would be very cool. But it's a fun event, and we want to be able to give you a report next week of how it's going, because we'll be right in the middle of it there. So thanks very much for checking in with us on the Route 66 event. We're very excited about it. Well, we're going to move out off of Route 66 up into Colorado, and let's see how Amanda's doing. Amanda, how are you tonight?
Good evening, Bob. I'm doing great. And thanks so much for the Route 66. I had never heard of it. I'm really excited to get on the air and work them. I can't wait. Let's see. I've got some great questions. Yes, it is. And speaking of goodies, since we were talking about cars, Route 66, Bob, I've got a great question for you. VE3 MIC Mike would like to know, he's seen pictures of your 70s, possibly Corvette, and he was wondering if you had any radio equipment in there, and what did you do for an antenna if you did because of the fiberglass body?
No, there were no antennas on that one, but of course the 56 Thunderbird, as you see it over my shoulder here, it was on the cover of CQ magazine back in the 2002 or 3. The Thunderbird it was a 1956 Thunderbird with a 1956 KWM1. And I had a lot of fun with that, and that was a great piece. I had a lot of cars in those days, back in the mostly the 70s. But my Corvette was without radio. And greetings to Mike. Thanks for the question.
Okay, that's great. And you know what? If I had a Corvette, I wouldn't touch it, you guys. I'm sorry. Okay, let's see. I've got going back to school question. We've got Tyler, KC9 UYP. And Don, I'm going to send this out to you. He says that he lives in a residence hall on campus, and he wanted to put a dipole antenna up, but he's wondering if the cement brick and aluminum frame window would cause any issues.
You know, my son's name is Tyler. Oh, hang on. Let me. You know what's worse than backwards, Bob? This is worse than backwards. So
thank you.
Yes.
I just can't do it.
Thank you.
Speaking of college, a little LSU action here. You know, I don't know. You could always do the Joe Walsh trick and just drill a hole through the damn wall. Of course, I don't think he does it anymore with the hotels. But yeah, if you can open the window and you're up high enough, I would think just dropping a wire down would probably be the best bet. I'm not sure that as long as it's insulated really well and you kind of stand it off, you probably wouldn't have too much issue with the aluminum window frame. The thing is just getting it outside. That's the thing. And if you've got a railing, maybe clandestinely scrape some of the paint off the railing and get you some vice grips and get you some sort of I know MFJ makes some really nice balcony railing antennas. Get something like that and drop a wire down the side of the building and see what you can do.
Very good. And you guys, if you have any other dorm questions, go ahead.
Hey, Amanda, would you like to have a little addendum to that particular thing that he mentioned with Joe?
I would love to hear this story.
Well, we would come in after the shows. We haven't done this lately. This was way early in the James Gang and the Barnstorm days. And we had an Atlas 210, and we bring it into the room. And, you know, when they would deliver food to your room and they'd have the cover, it was stainless steel and it had a hole in the middle of it for the heat to come out, you know. Okay. Well, we'd go up and down the hall and find one of those. Okay. And we'd tie a wire to it and we'd drop it out the window. And it worked great. It was really super. Except one night at about 3 a.m, this guy knocks on the door, and I go to the door, and he says, what's going on in here? It was a security guy for the hotel. I said, well, we're just working our ham radio. Yes. What are you doing? He said, we're having a problem down on the 12th floor. We were in the top floor. It seems as if the wire that we had attached to the stake cover was beating against the window of the guy on the 12th floor. And he didn't like it, so we had to suspend our operation. So I would advise against trying anything like that. So just a little Joe Walsh, Bob Heil story. And what can I tell you? But we did have fun, and we did wake somebody up, and I'm sorry about that.
The favorite part of my Joe Walsh hotel stories is when he talked about having when he couldn't open the windows anymore, having the long drill bit and just drill right through the wall and poke the wire out. That's hilarious. I love Joe. That's hilarious. Back to you, Amanda.
Kids, don't try this at home, please, ever. Okay, we have to move on before anybody else gets in trouble here. Okay, Gordo, there were some fans of what you were showing us tonight. So Joel H., who he has not gotten his license yet, but he promises that he's going to soon, would love to know, is there a kit schematic for the receiver that you were showing in your pictures?
No, I don't believe Spence Porter has actually published the schematic, but I can tell you that the receiver has to be capable of CW reception to decode that 100 millisecond, 1 milliwatt pulse that a common superhead FM won't do it. But no, I don't think that ComSpec has it. But I'll tell you what, drop Spence Porter, WA6TPR, a quick note at com-spec.com, probably the word info in front of it, and ask, is there plans for that receiver?
That's great, Gordo. Thank you so much. And we've got another question for you as well. Let's see. I'm sorry, I lost my place here. Okay, Yo, and we all know him on chat. He is using 2 rooftop-mounted multi-band antennas, one vertical and one fed and not at the same time. Can you connect these 2 antennas to the same counterpoise?
Absolutely. You sure could. And as long as that counterpoise ultimately terminates to a massive counterpoise, should be no interaction between the 2, as long as they are both independent on the radiating portion, but hooked in together to the same counterpoise. I don't think it would be a problem at all. And by the way, Amanda, I love your new station layout and lighting.
Thank you. I've done a lot of work. I have a whole. If I could turn the camera around, you guys, I would show you. But it's ridiculous what I'm doing to get some light in this ham shack that does not include fluorescence. So thanks, Gordo, and hopefully this will do until I get my LED panel in. Appreciate that. You guys, I've got some other announcements. By the way, we've got some Hamfests coming up in September because I didn't know they had this many Hamfests in this month. So first, San Diego Hamfest is September 12th through 14th and hosted by Sandark. You guys just probably Google that and you'll probably find more information about it. Also, NK8J Brad would like to let us know that Finlay Radio Club in Finlay, Ohio is having their Hamfest September 7th this Sunday. And Rich, KB2MOB, Saratoga County Hamfest is in Ballston Spa, New York on September 7th as well. And my own announcement, WNAW Portable Zero is moving to Colorado next week. So look for Jeff and I. We will be on 40 meters, mostly 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. the whole week on phone, by the way. So look for us on the bands, and we look forward to working all of you. Let me see. Any final comments from you guys? Go ahead, Bob.
I think you're muted there, Bob.
I think so, too.
There we go. I appreciate you mentioning a lot of the Hamfest because the Hamfest really happened in the fall a lot before we get into the cold weather. So that was really great to do that. Well, I think that everything else is tied here. Gordo, anything that we lost along the way from Costa Mesa?
No, I think we got them. And Amanda, that's great because there's so many Hamfests. I didn't get a chance to mention them all. So between the two of us, if you let us know here at Ham Nation that you've got something special happening, we'll try and get it out. Give us a couple of weeks' notice. And tonight we're up on 7278. I'll put the Heil headphones on and see how Garlic Mike and the gang are doing on HF. And we hope to work you there as well.
Hey, the Garlic Mike's going to be covered up tonight. He really has been having some growing pains there. A lot of guys and gals checking in. I'll be down on 3847. I think Cheryl will be there. First, I got to go by 3880. It's the first Wednesday of the month is the Collins AM net. So I want to get into some of that. That starts up about 7 o'clock and goes to all hours. So we'll be on AM for a while. Don, good to see you tonight. Everything okay down there? Are you ready to tie it up for the night?
I believe so. I've got some information about a new website that deals with some of our after show nets. Dave, KB9VZU, sent me an email, and Jeff, K8JTK, has put together a new website, and it's called HamNationDStar.net. And it's not just D-Star. There's information on, of course, the D-Star net. There's information on the Echolink net on that node, and there's also information on the various HF after show nets. It's just a kind of a cool clearinghouse for all of the after show nets and again, it's HamNationDStar.net. And Jeff, we thank you so much for everything that you do. I mean, just it's a virtual clearinghouse for everything as far as the after show nets go. And of course, the D-Star net is going right now, and I'm going to try to check into that here in just a sec. So that'll do it from South Mississippi. Bob, thanks. And Amanda, nice to see you. Gordo, great job. Nice to see Jim. And of course, good stuff from Randy as well. So that'll do it from down here.
Thank you.
Okay, good deal, everybody. I got my DX engineering pad, and I just wrote that on there, and that's going to be filled up before the weekend, I'm sure, with all my contacts on the Route 66. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you back next week right here. And who knows what's going to happen, but it'll be exciting, and it'll be about ham radio. That's for sure. Thanks, Brian. Thanks to Leo and all the gang in Petaluma for the time, and the sponsors. We appreciate all, and we'll see you somewhere high or low, up or down, but it's going to be fun. 73, see you next week. Bye-bye for now. This is K9EID.